We are electric man. We've got electric hands. So come stand beside us and realize that the thing we must do is inspire. We're coming for ya. We're coming for ya. We are electric man. We've got electric hands. So come stand beside us and realize that the thing we must do is inspire. We're coming for ya. We're coming for ya.
All right, folks, we are live with another Mace Starwalk episode. Our Friday host, Mace Starwalk, does the series "Convince Me Otherwise," and today Mace going to be has made the claim that Vladimir Putin is evil. Try to convince him otherwise.
And everyone's gone. I told you no one would disagree.
We'll get some. We got someone disagreeing in the chat already. You should take a look at the YouTube chat if you can do that while you're on here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if we can get this person to come and join.
Cringe, how dare you? Anyone with the Putin is evil narrative can. I can't read that.
Oh, it's
I don't mean it's too rude to read. I mean I can't read it. It's just a jumble of letters.
So babysitting my 2-year-old. Oh, damn. So Danny, you don't think Putin is evil? How would you define evil, Danny? What would make someone evil? Yazid Saad, that's a piece I composed for the Celebration of Science and Reason tour. Yazid Saad says evil is good. Okay, how do you get there?
By being a troll.
Yeah, perhaps.
Hey, can I talk or would I be interrupting?
No. What do you think? Evil or not evil?
I'm not sure what the context is.
Vladimir Putin, evil or not evil?
I guess the way I see politicians is I don't really care about their personal lives. I care about what they do in policy. So I guess I could say his policies are evil, but for all I know, he could be a good person in his personal life. But I mostly just judge politicians by like the policies they do, kind of as if they were an actor.
Okay. So you don't know. You're on the fence.
I mean, I guess I'd say evil, yeah, based on his actions.
What about you, the mad something? Sorry, the half the name's cut off. The mad. What do you think?
I don't know about evil. I just know he's a fucking madman.
Also, Mace, this might be a bit off topic, but have you heard of a guy called Terry Fox?
No.
Okay, you look a lot like him. He's this guy that had cancer and ran across Canada to fundraise money decades ago.
Okay. Yeah.
What's his name?
Jerry Fox.
No,
I'm
Terry Fox.
hoping that's a good thing that I
Yeah,
look
yeah.
like.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, so sorry, the mad. What was your position again? You say you think he's mad, but not evil.
He could possibly be evil. I'm not gonna make that value judgment, but I think a lot of what he's doing is kind of crazy, and his motivations aren't clear to most. So it's weird.
So you're on the fence too, by the sounds of it.
Yes.
Okay. What about who's that at the bottom? Sir Grim, evil or not evil?
And I'm sorry, what's your definition of evil?
By your definition, would you call him evil or not evil?
By my definition of evil, no. I don't think he's evil.
Oh, interesting.
Actually, I'm gonna recant. I felt I was pushed into like picking one position or the other. I'm gonna say I don't know if he's evil because I think intent matters, and I guess hypothetically, if he is like does I don't know. It's
Interesting.
hard to say.
I'm trying to say is
I will say his actions are evil though, but
I don't think he is evil. I don't think the possibility of somebody achieving that type of status could be done through evil or types of schizophrenia or some type of some sort of like a bipolar issue that would make someone think that he could truly become apathetic. But I think that I do think that he's ignorant, and I do think that he is manipulated by others. And I think that his ego convinces him that he's not.
So, not evil then.
Not like evil, because in evil situations, I would say when you see somebody who is evil rise to power, I would say it's extremely hard for them to keep it. And in addition, they usually end up using their own tools of destruction and decisiveness on their own first.
Well, it's funny you should say that because Putin has had a hard time keeping his power, and he has had to use destructive forces on his own people in order to keep it.
True, but my definition of evil, and I don't think it's a deistic definition of evil by any means. There's no like religion behind this. It's just somebody that is just purely stuck in psycho mode, right? They have no empathy for any other human being. They barely value their own life. They're willing to die for it, and they feel like their value and moral code should be the value and moral codes for every and all creatures. And so that to me is an evil stance, whereas Putin is clearly heavy is the head that wears the crown. And once again, we're seeing somebody, possibly the richest man in the world, egotistically, narcissistically act in some really interesting ways that I think is naive and ignorant, and especially the way that he tries to lead. But at the end of the day, I think he's just making a big mistake, and not many people are really not many people close to him are helping him. He's just fighting everybody tooth and nail. That's not evil.
Okay, you've given me a good description of what evil is, but would you be able to give me a precise definition?
Human.
Sorry.
Flawed ass human. How about that? There's a precise definition. Flawed human. There you
Cool.
go. Flawed human.
So you wouldn't consider Putin to be flawed in any way?
No. He is a flawed human. He's making a lot of mistakes. and he's
Evil
trying-
requires malicious intent to do harm and cause suffering.
Yeah, I don't think I think he's feeling like he has no choice here, and I feel like he thinks that this is just it. And I've warned people.
Would you be happy with that definition then? Someone who has malicious intent?
Not necessarily. I think I can see a lot of ways where malicious intent can be used not in an evil way. Sometimes malicious intent could be necessary. So there's I think
we're going to need a definition.
Definition of evil?
Yeah.
For me, a definition of evil for me would be someone that is verging on psychopathy, somebody that is that basically has no empathy or for those around them, does not care about the consequences. I do not see those actions in Putin. Somebody that does understand the consequences.
Would you define evil as simply psychosis then?
No, because you could have apathy for a few people. You could have apathy for family members. You could have apathy for things like that, but you could be evil in a way that you practice indifference on the rest of the world, right? You just don't give a shit about anybody else that isn't your family, for example, right? Usually in evil dictators, we see these weapons and these orders commanded on their own people first.
Which we have seen happen in Russia.
No, I don't think Putin is willing to fight Russians. I think he's willing to go annex territories that he wants to be as Russian, and he does not see Ukraine, which went through a revolution in 2014, as Russian, because they clearly say that we're democratic right now and not joining you.
Would you class it as committing violence against your own people if he has really, let's say, police in the streets beating people with batons for peacefully?
No, because once again he's officially declared in a way, here's my actions, here's what I'm going to do.
What about arresting and even murdering political opposition?
Yes. Yeah, I don't think that's still evil. I still, once again, think it's not the right thing to do. I'm not okay with it. It sounds just ignorant. Evil would be a way where he would not be announcing any of these things. He would just be going off. He would be ultimately going to weapons of mass destruction, not giving two shits. That's an evil person that just does not care about the consequences. He has strategic plans. He's announced his strategic plans. He's met with world leaders for the past year, vastly, and still the negotiations are breaking down because we can't come to these terms. And when we do came to negotiation terms with NATO, Russia still violates them because they don't like what NATO is doing. And so what you're just seeing is a diplomatic breakdown, not an evil person.
So do you think that he actually cares about the consequences of what he's doing and cares about the lives that he's destroying / ending in?
Yes, but I think he has a means or the end. The end, I think, justifies the means, and so this end game of annexation and getting Ukraine back on track, I think, is justifying his reasons to do it. And I don't think he's going to stop at Ukraine.
Right. Sorry, I'm just a little bit unclear on the definition still. So just to clarify, you define evil as not caring about consequences of actions.
Yeah, so evil would be evil to me as in a dictator role. Like if I'm just an evil person, like, oh, that guy's just an evil person. That just means he's trying to see other people hurt. He doesn't give you warnings. He doesn't give you this ability to kind of peacock or anything. It's just complete violent attack and not sure of the consequences. when you see a leader do this kind of stuff, you usually see this inward attack. He's killing and basically just offing political members in his own country. He's poisoning towns that aren't with aren't with his position. You would see so much inward regime change in somebody that is truly evil at that top and has that kind of power. I don't think that's the case. I think.
What about if someone doesn't care about their actions because of ignorance? Would that person still be evil?
Somebody doesn't care about their actions because of ignorance. Would that still be? No, I think that if you're ignorant, it doesn't matter. You're still gonna care about your actions. If you don't care about your actions, that's not really an ignorance thing to me. Ignorant is you're not aware, educated in the result of your action. But if you're just flailing around like a man-child, right, then you're not going to get far into a leadership position. You're just not. It's not going to happen. You need to be methodical. You need to be smart. You need to be analytical. But if you have apathy and you don't care for any other human on the planet, then you could be evil at that point. I think Vladimir Putin at this point, and Travis, I'll let you chime in here. I think Vladimir Putin at this point just has a lot of pressure on him, and he's making dumb decisions.
I just wanted to say, you guys, make sure you're engaging in the text chat on YouTube. We have some people who disagree, and they don't think that Vladimir Putin's evil. Daniel X, are you from the YouTube chat? Are you Danny K by chance?
I'm not. I'm in the actual Pangburn Discord.
Oh, okay,
chat.
cool. Yeah, no worries. Mace, go ahead, take it back. I just wanted to make sure you guys, while you're waiting to say something or talk, a good use of your time is engaging in the YouTube text chat. This all gets recorded on the video, so there'll be two ways of people to be able to see your discourse when the video gets published. So, Mace, go ahead.
Sorry, I can't remember who I was talking to before. I think it was Grim.
It was
I
Grim.
think we're gonna have to just agree to disagree. Sorry, on the definition of evil. Then I suppose, because I would be happy with a few definitions for evil, but that wouldn't be one of them. Saying someone with malicious intent, I think I could agree to that one. Or the Google definition seemed fine, which was intensely immoral or wicked. And I do think that Putin is both of those things. I think he's immoral, he's wicked, and he clearly has malicious intent. So, we'll just have to agree to disagree on that. I'm not convinced by that.
I am 100% okay with that, bud. I am okay.
Let's pass it to someone else. Does anyone else in the room disagree with my proposition?
I do, but I think that's based on the definition, so I don't want to belabor that point.
Sorry, what was that?
I disagree even with your definition. I don't think you have any evidence of his malicious intent or wickedness.
Oh, yeah. I can think
do.
of a little bit of evidence.
I can actually think of plenty, actually.
Yeah, there's a little
for example, prosecute a mirror into his mind.
I mean, we don't really
I don't have a mirror into his mind, but some of his
so
recent
you're declaring his intent. So
I mean,
let's hear about how you have the mirror into his mind.
Do you not think it's possible for people to make their intent clear through their actions?
Through an explanation of their actions, maybe.
Well, his explanation for his actions was kind of bullshit, really.
So elaborate.
Well, he didn't really address the fact that he's going in and killing loads of innocent people. He's just like, I can't even remember what he said. It was that bullshit. What was his excuse again? Was it He wants to reunite the empire or something.
I think he said he is
Well,
protecting
yeah,
the Russians in the
yeah,
Ukraine. But
yeah.
I also disagree with your definition, because I have a relatively metaphysical look on the fact if somebody is evil or not, and I, for one, do not think that a person can be really evil, because well, it's theoretically possible, but my definition is somebody who is causing harm for the sake of only causing harm, and it has to be both bad intent and succeeding in causing bad intent, and so I do not think he is evil, because he does his actions reflect the well, not really the will of the Russian people, but it definitely gives them an advantage, and there is an advantage for somebody, and where there is a disadvantage, there also is an advantage, obviously, and so he has not malicious intent, but intent to improve the life of Russian people, I think.
I don't know
Oof,
about
that's
that.
a hard one to
Yeah,
swallow.
in 2016, he did lay out in a series of speeches his foreign policy intent for the next decade, and
If he really cared about the lives,
he did telegraph this stuff, and it's all about, in his own words, as translated by translators from Russian, in his own words, he's trying to secure his own borders and create security and stability in the border regions around Russia, and create a buffer zone between an increasingly militant EU and Russia's borders. So he needs a buffer zone between where we're sending weapons and where his people are, and he also needs a buffer zone where he's in control, so that when there's things like ISIS that America basically created on accident, they're not directly attacking Russia and their allies. That he wants stability in the region. So, is he going to create that by sitting back on his heels and letting EU foreign policy objectives dominate?
the EU is no threat to Russia. They have no intent on going to war with them. It sounds to me like he's the one with the intent here. And also, if he really cared about the lives of the Russian people, don't you think he would start by actually improving their lives with internal policies rather than raging war?
Maybe not the individual Russian people, but the folk of the Russians and the Russian nation, and it's always the leaders always care about
putting your nation's reputation before the people who live in it is
of course, the reputation and the financial situation and the military situation, of course, because then he has some leverage, and we can now see he uses the leverage, for example, the gas on Europe, and well, the EU is definitely affected by this, so he can use it, and if he has the Ukraine, he has more leverage for his next steps. As much as I hate to defend Putin at this point, but
that's a good point.
Calling
So their main export is oil and gas, right?
Yeah.
And so the main customer of Russia is Europe, and Ukraine is sitting between Russia and Europe and extorting tolls on Russian gas pipelines from Russia to Europe. So why would, if you think that his most important policy objective should be to improve the lives of Russians, why would he continue to accept the status quo of getting extorted by a corrupt Ukrainian regime for gas tariffs?
He can do business with someone else if he's not happy with his current business partners. There's no reason to go.
How does he get the gas from Russia to Europe without going through Ukraine? Like you can just do business with, like, who else is there?
Can't he just do business with Ukraine then?
I mean, wasn't this like the intention of Angela Merkel with her policies, that if we let our arms open to Russians' governments and make more relationship with the trade agreements with them, they might be actually come up open and maybe liberalize a little bit more, or maybe get affected more, or like have a bit more understanding, but it actually backfired. It's like there's a real intention, a real pattern of behavior from his government that he has ambitions and goes far beyond like what he initially said before like this Ukraine accident.
So, can you give me a good reason, Doolittle, why Russia has to go to war rather than just getting what they want through peaceful business?
There's no real. I mean, I don't know if you're addressing me with this question, but I see no reason for them not to go to a war.
Not to go to a war?
Yes, because there's I'm not here justifying what they're doing, but from Putin's perspective, which is fucked up, nonetheless, he can see huge value. Yeah, he can see huge value of obtaining like a country with abundance of natural resources and good geographical location that also kind of monopolize on the Black Sea influence as well, which they can't really yet protect themselves.
He sees something, he wants it, and then he takes it by force. That's evil. If you want something,
exactly,
you have to
I agree. Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. There's way more arguments to support that he is evil, and the evil of characters of the previous dictatorship that we always talk about, from Hitler to Stalin to Mao to many others, Gaddafi, Bashar al-Assad, Saddam Hussein, all these people share similar traits, taking things by force, very little diplomatic affairs, and there's a tendency that every democratic nations have very little incentive to go into a war by any means unless they're defending themselves. So yeah, it is clear evil in my eyes and many other Russians' eyes too as well.
And you know how else I can tell his reasoning was bullshit? If he really thought the separatists were under any threat, why didn't he just create some sort of asylum scheme where he can just safely transport those people into Russia, where they'll be safe?
Well, of course, his explanation was not true. He obviously invaded for other reasons, but I think he had reasons, not good reasons from our perspective, but he wouldn't have invaded the Ukraine if he thought there was no advantage.
But having a reason alone is not enough to make it seem that he has a justification to do it.
Like, no, of course not. No, it's not right. But there's a big difference between not right and pure evil.
I mean, unless you're gonna argue he's not evil, then he's a madman. Either of those two things.
Well,
and those two things are also, in my opinion, are not preferable for like a guy who holds nuclear weapons.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It is not reasonable and obviously not right. But my definition of mad is doing something unreasonable where you have obviously no reason for it, and
Ukraine is very unreasonable, by the way.
I have to say, you make a really good point there.
Can I say something?
Hang on, let me just finish this point. If anyone is going to convince me today that Putin is not evil, you would have to instead convince me that he is unable to think rationally or insane or something.
Can I just say something here? Because when you're making these kind of blanket statements, it seems that you're assuming that you know all the facts. And when it comes to war, during war, that's the time when especially nobody knows all the facts. And the assumption that Putin is acting without a good reason seems, it's just
it's bold assumption to make. Yeah.
Do you think that
what
do you
is
think
the
that the British Empire is going to let you know?
Hold on,
I haven't finished my thought yet. I was
let her finish.
I was mentioning a couple weeks ago that I had seen some video footage of Putin as he was doing intelligence work in the Ukraine, riding with this giant biker gang. And I mean, it's the largest biker gang in the world. They're called the Wolves. And I saw on this video on YouTube that these guys were setting up big stages and bonfires and giant red flags with symbols on them. And I don't know if it was the swastika symbol, but there was a big symbol on these big red flags that were like 3 stories tall. And I got the sense, I didn't understand about bikers and Nazism and all that back then when I saw that video. But now it's really starting to make a lot of sense to me, because Putin says, and I posted the video in the on-air chat, where they're talking about why he went in, and Putin himself says he's going to denazify the Ukraine and demilitarize them because he feels that they are that kind of a threat. And that's been going on in Europe. Germany had a city declare a national emergency because of the rise of Nazism and the culture there. And I personally think this is what this is about. And I think this is why the international countries are sort of standing back. And I think it's really interesting that Putin is going in there just gangbusters. I mean, he's just blowing everything up. He's had enough of whatever's going on in Ukraine. So something's going on, and I don't think we know exactly what it is. And I think it's very complex.
So,
So my yes and to that was, so without telling the story, is why do you think that your government is going to give you access to the information that you need to make a rational decision about whether Putin is a sane and reasonable person?
Me.
Why do you think that you're allowed access to that information?
You talking about
me?
me?
It seems to me that we assume that we should have that information, and we've been assuming we've been getting good information. But I mean, it's been pretty obvious, and it's been well stated that we're not, and that the news is biased, and there's a lot.
I mean, actually, I want to say one thing very quickly, and very important at a time of war and a time of confusion. I hope you guys can hear me. Am I lagging or something?
Oh, we hear you.
Hello. I'm fine. Yeah. So
Are you guys aware?
Hold on, I want to say something very quickly, if you allow me. One thing. I'm still being interrupted a little bit, but okay. So at a time of confusion, at a time of war, it's very important.
Sorry, please go ahead.
Very important. Yeah, it's very important to pay close attention to the information we see on the internet, and also to actually pay attention to what our countries and our government even tells us what is actually happening, because you better at the end of time, if you don't know which one to believe and trust, is to trust your government and to trust your constitutions and your allies and partners, because you don't even know, maybe it's also the Russians and the enemies are trying to confuse you too. So the end game, the most logical way to go with this thing is to actually at the end to trust the information coming from your own government. Now, if you can't find out the propagandas of your own government, which will happen, which you will find one, then you will have at least more educated guess or like understanding of the situation. But when it comes to Ukraine, it's very cut and clear who's the aggressor and who's actually trying to infiltrate and like cause chaos and unrest in the European continent, which
it's
is
only
Putin.
Clear when you put the facts in a certain order, the way that you want them to state that particular point of view. It's not
It's actually
clear
very
at all.
simple.
In fact, it makes no sense at all, and that's why everybody's sitting here talking about it, because if it made perfect sense, we wouldn't even have to talk about it. But I mean, if Europe was no threat to Russia, I think Russia would walk in there too.
Threat to Russia is Russia itself, the government itself specifically. The Russian government, the country itself is a dwindling country, lowering GDP. The corruption is all-time high. Their economy is only dependent on multiple natural resources and selling the military equipment to third world countries to actually engage in a more war. His country is dwindling, and he knows this. China knows this. The Europeans know this. And this is why he's getting extreme measurements to actually capitalize on a little bit more hope. And Ukraine, his only hope, because he thinks, he believes if he takes control of Ukraine, if he takes control,
I don't think it's dwindling at all.
It is very much dwindling. If you look at the
I don't think so. I think it's actually surging on.
Russian
Look at
people
him. Now
and
he's going to expand his power. So I don't think it
Right.
feels
Looks like you two are not going to agree on that point. But can I do a forcing experiment with you, Sariel, because I'm sure there must be some information out there which you can agree is probably accurate, because obviously not all the information about this comes from the government. Some of it.
Well, everybody's surprised about this, but I remote viewed it last week. And
So,
I mean,
can I just say, some of this information is
and I've been
coming
seeing
from.
this coming for months because of the unrest in like Kazakhstan and all the.
Sariel, you have to listen to
I've seen
Mace.
this
Mace is the moderator, so just make sure you're letting people finish. Mace, go ahead.
I'm letting people finish. I'm the one who's not being allowed to finish.
You have to listen to moderation here. Mace is the moderator, so he'll let you know when it's your turn.
I'll just be very quick. I just want to say, not all the information is coming from the government. Some of it is coming from independent journalism. So I don't think you can just sweep all of this information under the rug. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I'm just saying that, did you read The Man Called Intrepid? Because during World War II, the United States didn't even know they were involved in the war till Pearl Harbor. Most of the average people in the States didn't know the United States was sending all kinds of equipment. They were totally involved in, all of the deciphering secret messages. All the mail was being funneled to Bermuda. They were sending spies into France. I mean, the United States was completely involved in World War II, and nobody had a clue until Pearl Harbor, when the war was practically over, in 1944. So I think there's been a lot going on that we are completely unaware of. There's been a big kerfuffle in the South China Sea that nobody's talking about. I mean, all kinds of warships were heading down to the South China Sea from Britain. Russia's got warships in the South China Sea. Now all of a sudden we get this, way over here, look over there in Europe. Don't look at the South China Sea, because that's where I think the real action is. Got all the fireworks in the Ukraine, but it's all quiet over there in the South China Sea where all the big warships are, and China's trying to bully everybody.
No, that's off topic, because you're now.
I'm just saying, how it is with war.
I'm just interested here in whether Putin is evil or not.
Yeah, sorry. I don't think he's evil, though, see. I think he's very smart. I think he's actually on the side of the West.
Can I ask you about some of the events that have been in the news so you can tell me if you believe them or not? So
yeah, there's a lot in the news that I don't believe, actually, for sure.
So in the news, they're saying that Russia is the aggressor. They attacked first. Do you believe that?
Oh, yeah, they did attack first. But there's been something going on in the Ukraine, like it says in the video that I posted. There's some kind of Nazi activity. I'm characterizing it, quote unquote, Nazi, but it's, it's racist and cruel, and something gangsterism is going on there with this, I believe, large biker group in that area.
Can you give me some reason? Can you convince me that it's not always evil to make the first move and to attack a country that is
genocide? I mean, we're talking about Nazis, and that's exactly what Putin is saying. He's saying there's genocide going on in the Ukraine that we don't know about, and that's exactly what was going on in Germany.
Do you think it's morally okay for Putin to be launching missiles into another country because that country potentially has some Nazis in it?
Well, it depends on what the real facts are. And like I said, I don't know. But I think they must be pretty significant. That's what he's doing.
In this thought experiment, let's say we know for certain there's, let's say, 20% of the population agree with Nazism. Does that make it okay for
no,
Putin
because they're killing people and they're hurting people. It's a organized crime thing, and it looks like it has gotten, like they said in the city in Germany that declared the national emergency. They said Nazism has risen in the culture. I mean, I'm trying to still figure out what exactly that means, but I have a bit of an idea. And if you've got your next door neighbor acting like a Nazi, what's that like?
Is it morally okay to
Are the doctors doing experiments on people? Are they genetically? What is going on in the Ukraine? All quiet.
Just answer yes or no to this question, Zariel. Is it morally okay to invade another country just because you have been made aware that a large percentage of them support Nazism?
It depends. I mean, there may be some agreements. I think that Putin was even saying that he has
Just
the
yes or no.
support of a large
Yes or no.
number of Ukrainians for what he's doing, although you're not hearing it, of course, in the broadcast. But he says there are Ukrainians who really want him to come in there and change things. They're not happy how things are. So, you know, there's two sides, and we're hearing one side very strongly.
I'm going to give you one last chance to answer that question if you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think it's fine morally for him to go in there when there's something justified going on that needs to be stopped. And if this is what it's going to take,
Yeah,
I mean,
I've given you a specific.
this is a little bit interesting.
Can you in this specific scenario, we know 20% of the population support Nazism as a philosophy. Is it morally okay? Yes or
I
no?
think anybody supports Nazism. I think Nazism is sneaky, and most people don't really see it or understand it when it's going on. Just like in Germany, people didn't understand what was happening to them in Germany, how they were being manipulated and controlled and hypnotized, a lot of them. Okay, so there's a lot of pressure on people in the society where this is going.
So Serial, what are you basing this? Because it sounds like, do you believe there is genocide going on in the Ukraine?
I believe it's entirely likely. It's going on in China.
Ooh, hang on. Don't go to China. What leads you to what leads you? Not yet. We'll get to China.
But I mean,
and
it's
Taiwan.
normative.
But sorry, Serial. I just want to know what is your justification? Hang on. What is your justification for believing that it's highly likely that there's genocide going on in the Ukraine? Because I see zero evidence of this.
I think
I just want to look at what you have. What's
happen
convinced
in
you.
regular hospitals when you're putting old people down. I mean, this whole COVID in the United States and Canada, who was dying? All the people in the rest homes, all the sons and daughters, these people got dollar signs.
Something interesting
What are you talking about? What does this have to do with what I asked? Are you suggesting that the
I'm
genocide?
hypothesizing about how genocide might be enacted in the Ukraine and other places.
Yeah, but you don't have evidence of this, right? Like you can't just like if Putin has no demonstration of this going on, you know, he shouldn't just go in there and say, oh, because I feel it's happening or because someone told me. You know, that's when you engage. That's when you engage in better intelligence, right? You need to go in an intelligence fact finding.
He was hanging around with the Baker Group, and he was living with them and biking with them, and he investigated personally into that whole situation years ago now. This has been developing for a long time. It's not.
And what did he say? And what did he see? He hasn't said anything about what.
Well,
like saying that he saw bodies that have been tortured to death or anything like that.
You know, it's interesting because I mean, this whole COVID problem seems to me like an attempt at mass genocide, and it didn't work.
And again, is this another thing you have just chosen to believe and you don't have any
you're China and you're going to purposely loose a deadly virus on people?
How do you know they purposefully released anything?
I'm just saying it's a theory, and it's
I
not something I'm
it's a
totally
theory.
invested in. But it's
Serial. The thing I'm trying to ask you, like, let's focus on the one thing. You say that you are convinced of it being highly likely that there is genocide going on in the Ukraine, and this is. Putin has made this argument that he has gone in to protect, these separatists from this, right? This is one of his arguments, and the rest of the world's nations would be, of course, in support of going in and freeing a country from genocide that's going on. We have all the precedent. Hang on, we have all the precedent in the world to look at to when the world was in support of this, and we did give resources to help clear out some of these terrible situations. But there's just no evidence or proof here. There's been no demonstration, no reasonable justification given to NATO.
Back when the United States was fighting the secret war, before anyone in the U.S. realized that World War II was really even happening, William Hearst was throwing parties where the German people who were stealing all the Jewish art were coming over and selling that art in the United States.
Okay.
I mean, it's a very complex situation, what's going on. Why didn't they tell the United States there was a genocide going on? They didn't know until after they took Berlin, and they started finding the camps at the very end of the war when it was over. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. When people are doing this kind of thing, it's very secret and nobody knows about it. And Putin can't just come out.
No,
well, he said
now.
there's genocide going on and no one believes it.
It's different now than it was back in the 40s. Come on. Like, with regards to trying to keep
right now,
things
just right in
secret.
front of our faces. So, like,
yeah, you understand that we have like YouTubers and vloggers and all kinds of people talking about this who are living in these parts of the world right now, right?
I know I'm following a guy on YouTube. He's walking around in the middle of Kiev.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. I'm just and have you seen with all of these people we have reporting on things? Have you seen any actual cases of people saying, "Oh, my father or my wife is a separatist, a Ukrainian that would like to see Russia be in power over the Ukraine." No. Have you seen any of them reporting any of this genocide?
I hear what you're saying. And what I'm saying is, when you live in a Nazi society, you don't go around talking about how you're a separatist.
Oh, come on.
You don't go
You're
around
creating an unfalsifiable proposition.
No. You better
and do you know what unfalsifiable, how useful
is conformist. Just like this whole fake news has been, and everybody's supposed to agree with each other, and if you disagree, we're going to shut you down on YouTube. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Goes on in neighborhoods and school.
Sorry, Serial, I love you. 2 seconds. At 5 p.m. Pacific time, guys, in 1 hour, Destiny, Twitch streamer, YouTube streamer Destiny will be coming on to the Pangburn network. He'll be joining me for podcast number 61. It'll be right on this channel, so it'll be right after this stream. But Mace, we should move the mic around so we get as many takes as we can get.
Yeah, somebody else.
In the next 50 minutes. But thank you, Serial. Thank you.
I just have a question about that. When Destiny comes on, is it like a free discussion for like any topic and stuff?
So Destiny and I will be having a one-on-one on the podcast first. It'll be about 90 minutes, probably a bit less for this one. And then we'll take a half-hour break. Then we'll be coming into the Discord server here. And it'll be an open Q&A.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll be moderating the Q&A. So if there's more information about Destiny if you're not familiar with him, but we do Q&As with famous intellectuals and thinkers from around the world on our Discord server here, and we'll talk to anyone. We've had Jesse Lee Peterson on, who's a hardcore
amazing
pastor. Amazing. Yeah, he's pretty amazing. And Beta, but yeah, anyways, you guys on YouTube, come and join us on Discord if you want to jump into this chat. The link is in the pinned message. Mace, back to you.
Okay. Sorry, I don't remember the order that people have come in, so I'm just going to pick people at random. Jackaroonie, what do you think? Is he evil or not evil?
So I don't think that there's like two sides of the coin that exist in the world where all of the things over here are good and all of the things over here are evil. I don't think that exists that way.
I didn't say good, I said not evil. So that includes neutral.
Right. No, that's fine. Was it? But because I don't think that the dichotomy exists, I think that coming from the perspective of almost everywhere in the world, an unprovoked war is evil. So it's coming from almost, or not, I wouldn't say almost all, coming from most perspectives, this is going to be looked at as an evil act almost no matter how you slice it. There are a couple of perspectives that exist in the world that could see this as better than neutral. And if that's the case, then I would go ahead and say that their views also lie in a more evil way as well. From my perspective, like very specifically my perspective, killing innocent people is evil. Starting a war that doesn't need to be started is evil. Is evil.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like we completely agree then. J Shul 98, what do you think?
I totally agree with everything he said. Basically, I think it's like, even before Ukraine was invaded, if you had asked me, is Putin evil? I would say yeah. Like, you look at how he prostrates himself to his people, where he's like this big strong man riding a horse, and like we all know who he really is. It's really sad too. Like, in a way, I want to say like, yeah, he's completely evil, but he's also like demented in the head, I feel like. So like, how can you be so stupid and evil at the same time? But you know, that's how I feel.
Good. Right. So we agree there. Andy, what do you think? Actually, before you speak, Andy, I have to say you made a really, really good point in the YouTube comments earlier. I saw that. You said what's stopping Russia from communicating their grievances with Ukraine? Why do they have to go to war? I think that's a really good point. So I'm guessing you probably would say he's evil too.
I'm sure he might have a little bit of good in him here and there, but I think mostly he's evil. And at the very least, he's doing a very evil thing right now. And if he tries to make any kind of excuses for this, if he tries to act like he cares about peace and he cares about what's right, obviously he doesn't care enough considering what he's doing.
Yeah, I agree. All right.
If he was trying to communicate with NATO, he gave up way too soon. Okay, keep trying. I don't care if they don't listen the first time. Don't declare war.
Yeah, completely agree. Trav, would it be possible to start a poll in the YouTube chat for evil or not evil?
You got it, brother.
Thanks. Who haven't I spoken to yet? John Boy, have you spoken yet?
Not. I'll give the quick take. So yeah, I'm on the fence about whether or not individuals can be categorically evil, but I'll evaluate his actions without evidence that provides justification that the invasion is somehow morally good, which I haven't seen. I'm currently in the position that his actions of starting an unprovoked war and invading are evil, according to my sense of morality. But I'm open to that reality. I haven't seen it. So until I do.
According to your sense of morality, can you think of any scenario at all where it wouldn't be evil to launch an invasion against another country?
I think Serial gave a good example, right? If there's crimes against humanity and people that are being, let's call it, say genocide is one of those scenarios, I would say that's a morally justifiable.
I would actually have to disagree there. If there's crimes taking place in another country, I would say that's up to that country's government to sort out. It wouldn't be moral, in my opinion, for another country to force their way in and cause even more damage.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say it would be moral for them to cause more damage, but I think there's an argument to be made morally for liberating people that are under the threat of genocide.
Why can't, let's say there is genocide happening, why couldn't the Russians just give the victims of that genocide asylum status and do everything they can to help them escape that place? Why did they have to invade?
I would say that's a better option, but let's say that wasn't an option for whatever reason.
Well, it is an option, though.
Well, this is a hypothetical scenario, so I'm giving you an answer that's hypothetical. But yes, no, I can't find a reason to justify his actions as not evil.
I could come up with a reason why he wouldn't offer asylum. Because of the embedment of this subculture. I think what's happening with Nazism is it's becoming a subculture. And some of the people who are victims don't even know that they're victims. I'm writing about this kind of thing happening in Canada. And there's a lot about eugenics involved with it as well. And so it's very hard. People get Stockholm syndrome. They won't leave. They're too scared. It's really not. And if they identify themselves as wanting asylum, what if they don't make it and they've got to go back? That is a deterrent, So Um, I don't think
Yeah,
offering
I
asylum
agree.
to victims
It's
of
really,
genocide
it's
is
really sad if
reasonable.
these people want asylum and they can't make it across. It is very
That's
sad.
why
But
he's
that's not
invading.
that's
That's what
not
I'm saying.
Russia's fault, and that doesn't give Russia the right to go in and kill other
Oh,
innocent
I think it
people.
does. I think it definitely does. When a child is trapped in a horrible abusive family, millions of children maybe, or say thousands is bad enough.
But going to war will cause other innocent children to die too. So
Well,
you
You
just
think you'd
like I
want
said,
international support.
something's been developing for a long time, in my opinion, and so people have been putting up with it and trying to come up with other solutions, and I think that those have failed from the looks of it. And now this disruptive subculture is starting to try and expand out into the rest of Europe, and Putin is not having that. It's not going to happen, and that's the way I see it. It makes more sense to see it this way too. It makes sense. Doesn't make it right, but it makes more sense.
Hypnotoad, have we heard from you yet?
No.
What's your view on this?
My opinion is that he is evil. Or,
Okay.
Maybe not necessarily evil, but not a good guy.
Okay. Seems like
Agreed, yes.
almost unanimously we can agree that Putin is evil. Unless anyone else would like to jump in, or if I've missed anyone, I'm very sorry, you can. I suppose we may as well just go back to Sariel, because it seems like she's the only one that disagrees.
Yeah,
I think he went crazy as well. I think he went beyond evil. He became a crazy guy, a madman. I think this is a thing that internationally is striking every nation in its core, where you have a nuclear superpower country that basically is going and breaking international treaties and agreements because they have nukes and they know nobody can bully them unless the other one has nukes. It's a crazy guy making the world even very unsafe for all of us. Even China knows this.
This is why I'm saying it's a distraction from something else that's going on, because it's very loud and very noisy and lots of fireworks. Seems to me that it's a decoy action.
Why does it have to be a decoy?
It doesn't,
happens
but I've been watching
when you
something going down in the South China Sea for 2 years now, and quietly giant aircraft carriers and nuclear subs and stuff are all heading over there. And now all of a sudden, way over here, we've got this loud, noisy fireworks. And it's really not that bad. Like, what he's doing is, he's throwing a few bombs in there.
I don't think
it's
I think
just
it
more
is bad.
show.
I think it is bad throwing some bombs in there.
I think it's
I don't
very
think dropping
clear.
thermal barracks outside a city is considered, minor bombs. That's not a tactical individual building weapon. That's a city flatter. You don't drop threats like that unless you're crazy.
I mean, you don't really need to go far ahead and just listen to Putin's speech alone. He's reimagining and admiring the previous Soviet Union, the falling Soviet Union, where he wants to reinvent the previous USSR. And he called the NATO to pull the troops from any nation that joined the NATO after 1990. It's basically like a glorious dream he has in mind, and he's working towards it. Like, this is beyond crazy as well.
It's such a strange.
This is Putin's speech. This is Putin's speech. He's basically asking. He's asking the NATO. He's asking the NATO and the US.
One at a time, please.
He's asking the NATO to pull their forces from Poland, Hungary, Lithuania, Estonia. What else joined after the 1990? Almost 27 countries. He's asking the NATO to pull up. This is what he's in his agreement, and he's going crazy. This is not something up to speculations. He's really madman.
See, it's always interesting to me.
It's unrational, yes.
Leaders sometimes that, or like anybody like that, when it comes to this glorification of the past and why it's like super important to go back and become this thing instead of looking forward and creating something newer and better than that. And I know that there's like the reasons why, because there's like already a built-in audience for it and comfortability and infrastructure and a lot of other bullshit. But it's just interesting to me that all the time it doesn't matter what country it's coming from. Like the main rhetoric from generally whoever in power is like, back in the day, things were tight as shit. Let's do that again, guys. And people are like, well, okay. And it kind of seems like Putin's always, Putin's now like, oh, my legacy is going to be rebuilding the Soviet Union and the USSR if I can fucking help it. And it's such a weird thing to want to go back and do that instead of trying to move forward and do something else.
Have you seen this guy, Johnny FD, on YouTube? He's walking around Kiev with his camera. He's not scared. There's bombs going off in the distance, but he's not the least bit scared. And he said, well, I thought about leaving, but then I thought, oh, I'll just stay in my apartment. How bad could it be? Like, he's not, like, experiencing,
Well, I hope he's...
terror.
I hope he's not going to be harmed. Another question to ask the room,
Yeah, me
like
too.
if you're, what do you guys think about the United States of America, weapons of mass destruction issue with Iraq? Are you willing to say George Bush was evil for demanding the invasion of Iraq?
I think it's kind of justified.
Okay.
In my opinion, I think just the actions they took and the consequences of it is very unintended, and I don't think even the American military really wanted this thing to happen or even intended to actually like fuck up the country upside down. This country, Iraq, has ambitions. They betrayed America and their Arabian allies and their neighbors. They attacked Kuwait and they attacked Israel too, and they pulled away from Iran. Even Saddam Hussein, they say he had a very weird moment, just like Putin as well. When you have a dictatorship and a government that lasted for a long time in a position of power, they do crazy shit, and Saddam Hussein did crazy shit too as well.
Yeah,
And
I
he
have to
was,
agree.
I think he was developing or in a line to develop like at least chemical weapons, if not nuclear weapons.
And Mace,
Hey.
I was going to say, how do you parse that with, because I think you had this absolutist view of like, if you do invade a country, and you take lives when it was possible to be, diplomatic about it, that would make a leader evil. Would you call George Bush evil in that same scenario?
So the country that he was invading, was that occupied? By occupied, I mean, was the government there responsible for the attacks on America?
As far as I know, no.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
I
They
guess
attacked American
I'd have
allies.
to say, yeah, he is evil, but less evil than Putin. Because obviously evil can still be a spectrum.
Sure.
Actually, he done a lot of. I mean, okay, whatever. Never mind.
I think in general people do they can do very evil things, but I'm not convinced. I don't think I believe a human being can be evil.
Yeah.
I don't
know.
think Adolf
Yes.
Hitler. I don't think Adolf.
I think Dick Cheney.
Hang on, can I finish?
Sorry, I like Dick Cheney.
I don't think Adolf Hitler, when you look at Adolf Hitler as an individual, I don't think he was evil, but I think he had very, very evil ideas that he enacted, and I think that's how I feel. Like when I watch a terrible story of a serial killer, when they finally get caught, and then you hear their story and the mind disorders that led them to be the way that they are. There's a lot of lines that can be drawn to people who in these situations, it's like, yeah, you see some of the decision making and you wonder if some of these leaders are of sound mind, but whether or not they are of sound mind or not, I think it's important to hold people accountable for their actions, and whether we can say that they are definitely evil. I mean, Putin's family, I'm sure, does not believe him to be evil. His grandchildren, I think he's got grandchildren, don't think he's evil. He's Grandpa Vlad, right?
We don't know this.
And so I, based on my moral foundation, I wouldn't categorize him as evil, but I would say what he's doing right now, these actions are evil. Absolutely.
I think I'd agree with that, Travis.
I
Great
think his
speech, yeah.
grandchildren. I think his grandchildren are already also afraid of Putin, just like the other Russians, to actually put in jail because they would damage his image as well.
No, but if you kind of go where I'm saying, like, you know, it's like Christmas time or it's the holidays and the grandkids get to see grandpa, like we must not allow demonizations of people to make us make some kind of moral absolutist claim about them generally. You know, Vladimir Putin, just like Hitler, just like Ted Bundy, just like Mother Teresa, they all get my moral consideration, and I think we should never stop giving people our moral consideration. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't hold them accountable for their actions, because Putin has he's declared war unnecessarily here, and the second largest military force on this planet has just gone in like a bully. And one thing I have to mention, just while we're on this topic, all of these I have to say, because of the way the political line draws on this thing, these people, I'll just say people, these people who are blaming Joe Biden and the Democrats for this invasion, you guys are retarded. That's all I can say. That's like all I can say about that. Like, it's not Biden's fault, and I'm no Biden fan, but it's not Biden's fault that Vladimir Putin is invading Ukraine. Like, whoever's writing, like, I've seen some journalists that I have quite a bit of respect for, but they've been putting out some really crappy work and
Tim Pool,
some really bad takes on, like, oh, it's Biden's fault. Hashtag Trump 2024 at the end of their article. Like, wow, that's some embarrassing shit. But
they're working with the enemy. That's what Pangburn. That's what Travis is happening. They're working with the enemy. They're trying to subdue us.
Well, I don't think that's their intention. I think some people honestly convince themselves of that. But I'm just making an argument. I'm just saying I think their argument is full of shit.
Yeah, I was being also facetious a little bit. I think they're just a liability.
Yeah. Just another reminder, guys. We will be live on the air. Go ahead, Jess.
You're good.
We will be live on the air after this in about 45 minutes, and Twitch streamer Destiny will be joining me. We're going to be talking about philosophy. We're going to be talking about the war that has been declared here. We're going to be getting into a lot of things, so please do join us for that. But go ahead, Jess.
When you were saying, like, it's important to, focus on, like, the morality and, not really demonize him, and it's important to think about, like, how he was probably raised and, like, who he's surrounded by, and they're probably feeding him all these things, like, in this, like, echo chamber of, like, you are different, you are, this powerful, above all the rest of us. He probably really truly believes something along those lines.
Yeah.
And that's why his actions are, like, so, like, we can't comprehend it, because he thinks, like,
and one thing I'll do just
to
add on to that, Jess, in my mind, like, when I try to find out where evil would sit on my moral foundation, it sits in a place where I don't think a human being could exist, and what it basically is an entity that, based on my own subjective moral foundation, maximize well-being for myself and those around me, so well-being is my metric. When I try to look at what would evil look like under that moral rule, I come to this conclusion that it would have to be something that did bad things and could never do good things. And, of course, you're not going to be able to find a human being, because you might have the worst person in the world who's done the worst things imaginable in human history. And then you see them out there carrying a sick child or a sick dog to the vet's office, doing things that I think I would consider morally good things, or even like having thoughts of, like, even thinking things that are good moral things based on my subjective standard.
Trav, we've got a couple of comments that I think need to be addressed.
Sure.
One for me and you. One is from V57.
Yeah.
Oh no, I've lost it now. It said something along the lines of, if the death toll stays as low as it is, would you reconsider your decision? And my answer to that is no. I think he was evil the moment the very first person died.
Well, I would
Anyone
say,
else?
yeah, I would say it was an evil act to invade, to start this war. If there's a, if there's a small body count, then in this war, let it be known. This is my hope, that the body count stays as low as it possibly can.
So you guys,
and
you just don't see that
to give
it's
you
just
my
really easy to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, war is evil." Like, what
No
am
one
I
said
even
that.
doing in this conversation? I mean,
No
yeah,
one said
war is
war.
evil,
No
but
one said war is
it's
evil.
more complicated
No
than
one said
that.
that.
It's not black and white and simple, and we don't know all of the facts.
That's a straw man, Sariel.
And also, I have to say, I could not ever believe that a person like Putin, who's been in charge of that country for 40 years, that he's some kind of moron that would believe people just pumping him up, and that he wouldn't be a person who thinks for himself.
Yet, Sariel, you believe
excuse
without
me,
any
can't
demonstration
do that.
that it's likely that there's genocide going on inside of the Ukraine. You can't believe
Yeah,
that
well,
he could be doing
that's what
something
he says.
idiotic. Hang on, you
That's what he
can't
says.
believe that he's doing something.
And
he
he's
could
the
be
head
doing
of
something
intelligence
idiotic,
for 40
and then
KGB
hang on,
officers.
and then you believe without any proof.
Yeah, I believe him. I do.
Without any proof that there's some kind
Knows
of
more
genocide
than
going on in the
you do.
Ukraine. Come on.
Sure.
Actually,
saying,
we have evidence that Russia committed genocides and ethnic cleansing in the eastern part of Ukraine. In fact, this entire fake narrative that there are native Russians in the eastern Ukraine is all actually manufactured by Russia itself. They have been sending Ukrainians, exporting Russians to the eastern part of Ukraine, and doing a lot of crazy shit. And they are the reason why they are Russians minorities in the eastern Ukraine, because of Russia's action. They have been actually exporting Russia there.
Well, regardless of whether or not that's true, I think we should try to stay on this war, else this is going to become a very extensive history debate. Mace, did you have more questions there? I'm not sure I got to finish my answer. There was a second part to that.
I'll just finish my answer. My answer is no. One death is too many. He's evil as soon as he kills someone, and then he's more evil the more people he kills.
I was just saying, I hope that the death tolls stay as low as they can. And again, I'm going to if I was speaking for NATO, I would say end this right now, or there will be greater consequences outside of the ones outside of these sanctions that we've already laid on you. And we are currently actively assessing your actions in great detail, and are ready to act quickly if we feel as though a military presence is needed. I would say something along those lines.
Sorry, I've been gone most of the night. Has the fact that Putin has threatened both Finland and Sweden today come up?
I read that. We haven't talked about it yet, but we were kind of focusing on people's moral stances on Putin, the man himself. But
yeah, there was another question just for you, Trav. Yeah. I can't remember who it was from, but it was how can you say people like Putin and Hitler are not evil, but you can say people that type bad things about Biden are retarded?
Well, retarded's different than evil, right? And by the way, I called the idea retarded. I try my best not to call individuals retarded, because that's not nice to ad hom attack people. But add a rule I have at Pangburn.
I think you might have said, if you're saying this, you're fucking retarded.
Okay, yeah. I try not to do that. I try not to call individuals retarded or groups. I might call groups that are acting retarded, but I try to focus on calling the ideas retarded. And whoever called me out for that, I try to specifically focus on the ideas themselves and not the not the end. But sometimes I slip up, and sometimes if I'm in like if I'm joking around, it depends what mood I'm in. Sometimes I'll be joking when I say that, or sometimes I'll be in a group of friends and we call each other retarded sometimes. And I know not everyone likes that word, but I think it's a funny word, and you know, a lot of my friends I hang out with use it a lot. So, but anyways, that's my response to that. But thank you for. You know, if you do catch me, anyone at Pangburn catches me ad hom attacking anyone, call me out.
Okay. I don't think anyone else has any more. I mean, we can probably go to general discussion unless anyone wants to make one more attempt to change my mind.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Before we do that, I will just give my final thoughts.
Okay.
My mind hasn't been changed thus far. I think the only way you could convince me that he's not evil for launching an invasion on another country is if he's insane and not in control of his own actions. I do, however, think I've seen what is possibly the final nail in the coffin for Putin's regime. I think he's going to be overthrown, definitely, for reasons which I may get into in another video. And if you're not following the Pangburn Facebook channel, I suggest you do that, because I might do a quick live stream at some point where I say why I think Putin's finished on there. So
Mace, I think maybe Mace, you should head over there right now and see if you can trigger an audience together.
Nah, probably be on the weekend.
Yeah. Okay, cool, man. Mace, thank you as always. Everyone, we're going to switch over here. Destiny will be coming on in a half hour with me for podcast number 61. If you haven't checked out podcast 60 yet, I had Dr. Wilson on, and we talked about his debunking video of Dr. Robert Malone on the Joe Rogan Experience. So check that one out. That exists on the YouTube channel. Thank you to Serial for being a warrior. Everyone else, thank you so much. Nice to see some new faces. Jess, Dear Otter, Mitsubishi, welcome guys. And we'll all go down to the tavern now and hang out until the next live stream. So please meet us in the tavern. Everyone on YouTube, thank you so much for the comments. We'll be reading through all of them. As always, let art and science inspire.
Thank